welcome back to Point of Order on the Cross Border Interviews with Christopher Brown. I am your host, Christopher Brown, and she is back after a week of having no voice. She is back on the show. She is back to talk about the biggest political news stories here in the province of Alberta, but across the Federation of Canada. Sarah Biggs, thank you so much for doing this once again. Happy to have you back on the show.
Hey, Chris, how are you?
I am doing fantastic. How's your voice doing?
It's to my family's demise and despair. My voice is back. It was gone for 2 weeks. I was extremely sick, and I gotta thank my daughter and daycare germs for. But after a good round of antibiotics, we're back on track.
I think the last time we heard your voice was on election night in Ontario, Thursday, June 2nd. And I think at that time your voice was already gone and we pushed it to the limit that night.
The next morning, I'm like, I'm done. Can't do it anymore. Yeah, no, it's been I feel like it's coming back a little bit. It's not 100%, but it is what it is. We've been in the bubble for 2 years, right? So if a bug that I haven't, if a bug that my immune system haven't seen in, a few years, gets into my system, my body won't be happy about it.
Well, and I'm not sure what it's like down in the southwest, but up here in the northeast, I can tell you the pollen that is in this city right now is horrendous. I took a duster to our bedroom one day, and the fine line of pollen that I found on my table that's right beside my window is like, whoa.
Oh, I need to power wash my deck furniture. It's just so, but the reason why we're seeing so much pollen, so we're going to do a little Canadian moment here, is because with the drought last year that was so bad,
yep,
the ecosystem and the trees are reacting, being like, oh shit, we might die, we need more of us, so they're producing more pollen. So that's why we're seeing that much pollen this year. Fun fact.
But before we get into the 3 points that we have to talk about today,
yes,
I'm going to turn the mic over to you for a few seconds because I know you want to do just a quick clarification. And after, not a clarification, but just a transparency note here.
Yeah.
And then I will talk about what we're going to be doing heading after that. So I'll head it over to you for about 30 seconds, and then I'll just jump in afterwards.
I've always believed in transparent government, transparent commentary, and I'm a very straightforward, transparent person. I think everybody can tell. I'm going to have to remove myself from UCP leadership discussions, as I have been retained as a campaign manager and a strategist for a campaign. So until the election, the vote happens, or until I have a job, if I get a very thank you very much in 2 months, that's going to be the end of it. But no, I'm going to refrain from speaking on leadership issue matters.
No, and
just because it wouldn't be fair. Just because it wouldn't be fair.
No,
and it would.
I appreciate you being honest and upfront about that. Sarah and I had a little bit of a discussion prior to this recording, and I don't want to put her into an awkward position or ask her questions that might put her in jeopardy with a job. So for my sake and her sake, we're going to be a little bit transparent and say we will be refraining. Sarah and I will be refraining from UCP conversations, I should say. That being said, I'm not going to stop talking about it. We do have a few other guests that are going to be coming on to talk about it. They're not going to be during the Point of Order live shows, but we do have our new regular Tuesday live night. So you might be seeing a few candidates show up there. So we will be talking about the UCP leadership as this progresses. So thank you so much for your.
I think we need the Chinese wall for a while just to.
Yeah. No, understandable. So if you're tuning in to listen about UCP leadership, you're not going to get it tonight, but stay tuned because we have a lot of other things that we want to cover. And the first thing. No, God, no, don't worry about it. Our listeners love you anyway. But I want to talk about the big thing that has happened this week, and that is federal mandates for COVID-19 travel restrictions have been paused, and I'm using air quotes for
Yeah.
those who are listening on Friday, paused because, and I just want to make sure I read this correctly, starting June 20th, 2022 at 12:01 a.m., vaccinations will no longer be required to board a plane or train in Canada. You still must wear a mask throughout your journey. This applies only to travel within Canada and flights or trains leaving Canada. Now, the sort of the asterisks in this whole thing is if you are entering Canada from land. So if you're driving from the USA into Canada, or if you're arriving by a boat, you will continue to need to meet entry requirements such as vaccinations and testing, including cruise ships. So if you're arriving by boat or land, you're going to need some vaccinations. If you're arriving from a train or plane, you're good, except for a mask. This is a long time coming for a lot of people in this province and a lot of people across this country. What were your initial thoughts when you heard that the Minister of Transportation, Minister of Health, and Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs were dropping these measures earlier this week?
It was a long time coming. Like how could I say? They are suspending. So there's a lot, the message is carried in a very careful manner right now. So I guess my analysis from this is that if we see a 7th wave, that would be very taxing on our healthcare system, including there's going to be a mix of influenza A and B as well. So in the fall it could be we could have another strong wave. We could see requirements being put back on, but I'm having a little bit of a hard time understanding the bit that if you arrive by plane, you're fine, but by boat, there's no, I do not understand the reasoning behind that one. Some more regularities across the board would have been nice.
And I completely agree with you on that one, because for a plane, you're still stuck within a small confine. And I just got back from a trip to Ontario, and I'm back here now. I can tell you that it was interesting, to say the least. You are more in close contact with people in a plane than you are in a boat. That being said, I know the one big thing that sparked this whole travel restrictions was the cruise line industry back in 2020, because there was a lot of people getting sick very quickly on cruise lines, and I don't remember it being that big of a deal on airplanes. It could have been. I just don't remember quite clearly right now. So
people are constantly masked and not living in the communal environment for 7 or 21 days, right?
Exactly.
It's very different. But if you arrive by car, it's even less dangerous than arriving unmasked, unvaccinated by plane. So I think that the government should be working messaging, and there's a constant, there's been a constant throughout a different level of governments throughout COVID, is the lack of consistent messaging and a lack of really straightforward communication. So it's going to be interesting to see how they will accommodate. But hey, if for the 10% of the population that did not get vaccinated in the past 2 years, well, have fun in Mexico.
So I'm just reading the news release that came out earlier this week. And the reason the Canadian government is giving about cruise ships is, given the unique nature of cruise ships, including the fact, as you just said, that passengers are in close contact with each other over an extended period of time, vaccinations against COVID-19 is still required. So that is the reason, like you just said. Yeah.
It's fair. But by land?
Yeah. Well, technically you can drive across the border. Can you? Yeah. No. Hold on 2 seconds now.
No.
Now you're not. No, it's just, no, you're right.
It's just by air.
But at the same time, we don't have the, I hate to put it this way, and this is going to sound very stupid to me, but
no.
We can't control what the states put in place, right? Because the states still technically have that law that you have to be vaccinated to cross the border, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not like Canada can go to Joe Biden and say, we're dropping it, so you have to drop it as well. Joe Biden has the right to refuse entry to anyone as long as you're vaccinated. So it's not a Canadian issue anymore. It's an American issue.
Well, it's the whole thing with the freedom convoys that we saw in February, right? Like even if we would have dropped even if the federal government would have dropped the mandates, American customs still had instructions to follow.
Yeah.
So as long as Biden is not willing to drop those restrictions and those mandates, well, I'm sorry, guys, SOL. Like, there's nothing we can do. We can go and throw temper tantrum in Washington if we want. How successful is it going to be? Probably just as successful as a Jason Kenney speech in front of a Senate.
I will say that there have been media reports that Joe Biden is looking at dropping those requirements for cross-border drivers to enter the USA. There has been reports that this COVID-19 is not done. It's going to possibly rear its head in the fall. I'm hoping not, knock on wood. I'm hoping that it's done and over with and we can sort of get back to semi-normality as much as we possibly want it to. I want to ask the big overarching question, though, because we can talk about COVID-19 restrictions. We can talk about the mandates being dropped, but at the end of the day, Justin Trudeau was in a tough spot here because the lines at the airports were getting longer, especially at Pearson. People were getting more fed up. Is this Justin Trudeau sort of responding to what he should have done months ago, or is this Justin Trudeau, as he is saying, following the science, in your opinion?
I think he's following the science. We are not in a wave right now. Sorry, I just saw a tweet that Michelle Rempel just announced that she is seriously considering a bid for the UCP leadership.
I'm not hearing this. I'm not hearing this, Sarah.
Yes, it's an information piece. I will not provide any professional opinion on the matter. I just received a notification. But no, like, we are right now dealing with a dip in cases. It's okay to reopen. It's fine as long as it's safe for everyone.
Yeah.
I'm expecting, we're going to see probably vaccines for little ones. I'm hoping soon for the under 5 crowd. When cases are low, why not? I'm more than happy. But, at the end of the day, if it's going to overwhelm our healthcare system, I think we need to put a collective effort to try to prevent that. If grandpa has a heart attack, we got to make sure you can make it to the hospital.
Well, exactly. We don't want what happened in last September where we saw a increase, not only here in Alberta, but across the political spectrum, plus the political confederation that we have. It is an interesting moment we live in, and it might be just a snapshot and it's where we are now, but we are heading into a new unknown, and let's see what happens after this. Will this alleviate some of the travel issues that are at Pearson at some of the airports? I don't think so.
I don't think so. It's always been a shit show over there.
Well,
sorry, pardon the French. But see, the other day, so here's the thing. The other day I was in Vancouver coming back from a vacation with my daughter, and we were in line in the domestic security check. There was one security spot open.
Yeah.
One. We waited 2.5 hours. I arrived 3 hours early for my flight. The flight was delayed 20 minutes and I just made it.
Oh, wow.
I think that there's a lot of human resources problem and mismanagement. We just kept, the vaccine mandates and the mandates in general needs to stop being the general scapegoat for the cluster F that we're seeing everywhere. Sometimes it's just because there's just not enough staff, or things are being mismanaged. Like, it's like blaming Justin Trudeau because you fell off your bike. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, and that's my concern. That's my big thing that I want to put on the record here is I forget what news show I was listening to. It was a podcast that I listened to on. I think it was actually The Curse of Politics, because I always want to try and credit the people who say things smarter than I do. But I was listening to The Curse of Politics, and I think it was Scott Reed, the liberal speechwriter for Paul Martin, on there. He said the communications out of Air Canada and WestJet has been fantastic, because they have laid the blame squarely on Justin Trudeau's feet on this one for the mandates. It's not the staffing issues, according to them. It's Justin Trudeau and the mandates, which is ironic because, as you said, and I've seen it too in Toronto Pearson Airport, there was 3 out of the 8 security checkpoints open when I was coming back from Calgary from Ontario. And this was back in May. And I was like, this is not a federal government issue. This is a all around issue. This is a airport issue. This is a border security issue. This is a Air Canada and WestJet issue, because we were supposed to be able to check in 3 hours beforehand. And I always like the early flights. Like, I get on the plane like the red eye, but in the morning, like 6 o'clock in the morning. So I arrived at the airport at like midnight the night before, because I didn't want to buy an extra hotel room for the night. So I got to the airport, and on their tickets and through Air Canada, it says, hey, you can check in 3 hours beforehand. We weren't able to check in until an hour and a half beforehand, because people were arriving late, and the people who were supposed to arrive, they didn't. So it was a very gong show of an issue. So this is not an Air Canada issue. This is not a WestJet issue. This is not a government of Canada. It's an everyone issue. And I say that
it's an airport management issue.
Yeah.
And honestly, when you have like the president of WestJet making comments on social media like he did this week, and then you have our premier retweeting it and finding it funny.
Yeah.
It doesn't help with the discourse. It's just more fuel on the fire constantly. I feel like we're not able to have a adult conversation about what the real issues are. And we're just blaming either COVID, vaccine mandate, lockdown, or Trudeau on everything. But a lot of the issues is airline management. It's how, security services airports are being managed, or maybe because we removed those mask mandate, there's more staff getting sick.
Yeah.
Have we thought about that for a second? Probably not.
No. But
vaccines.
Exactly. It is what it is. Now, just for transparency's sake, we do have to try to keep on top of things, because Sarah is about to head back out on the road and get back out on the campaign trail. So we want to make sure that we keep to time. So we have about another 15, 20 minutes so that we have with Sarah, and then we're going to be cutting it short here today. But I'm glad that Sarah was able to come back on. The next topic I want to talk about is the Emergencies Act. And this is the big thing that's been dominating Canadian politics right now, is the Emergencies Act. With the Senate hearings, or the hearings that they've been going through. And it came out early last week, or I think even a little bit before then, that no police chief, whether it be Ottawa, Windsor, even here in Coutts, Alberta, called for the use of the Emergencies Act, even though Minister of Public Safety, Mario Marcis, the Minister of Public Safety, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, and I don't want to even try right now, said that they were asked for the implementation of the Emergencies Act. The Conservatives are calling for the minister to resign, for Justin Trudeau to fire the minister. Is this going to happen? Because I remember way back when Pierre Poilievre said something stupid, and the Liberals and the NDP jumped on him to get him to resign, and he didn't. He apologized, and we moved on. Is this just opposition tactics of trying to get people to resign here?
Fuddle duddle. We never know. So here's the thing: when situations like, the convoys in Ottawa, the capital was literally under siege for 3 weeks, paralyzed, not able to do anything. They were part in having hunt-up parties in front of Parliament Hill. All my years in Parliament Hill, I wish I could have had a hunt-up party on Wellington. That would have been sweet. But we don't know what's happening behind closed doors. We do not know what threats, the elected officials were exposed to. If we remember in 1977 with the FLQ, The Emergency Act was,
The War Measures Act. The War Measures Act.
I'm sorry, the War Measures Act. I was born 6 years later, so I wasn't there. It's the year my parents got married. But at the end of the day, we don't know what's happening behind closed doors. We do not know what kind of threats were assessed. We do not know, what kind of communication channels they had with those groups. And the police, well, there was only so much they could do. But again, when you see Ottawa police hire a big firm like Navigator for crisis management, it's like, what is going on? Because Navigator is like one of the heavy firm in the country. But again, Mr. Trudeau's version, like,
everything seems to change every 5 minutes with Mr. Trudeau.
It's getting, but Trudeau's losing his shining star too. He's starting to lose his cool hair status. He's not as, in 2015, he was a sunny ways, fresh air. Harper was here for 10 years. We're just tired.
2019, it was, okay, we gave you a mandate.
2015, 2021 was like, okay, well, because, the other side's not much better right now, so we'd rather stick with you.
Exactly.
And like deciding to keep your mother-in-law over for dinner and for an overnight sleepover. But we'll see what's going to happen. Bill Blair said that, they did not request, but maybe they didn't ask for the Emergency Act, but maybe who knows what triggered Trudeau to make such a decision? Was it when the kids were at the bridge, used as like a wall of kids trying to block everything?
Yeah.
Like, what was this tipping point for Justin Trudeau? Was his family threatened? Was it, we don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that we do not know. But there's the thing we know is that Trudeau is not as shiny as what he was in 2015. And I don't think it's going to bring to resignation, but I think that the succession plan could be accelerated. The dude's been dealing with that for 2 years. He's been pulling up, and I'm not trying to be a Trudeau apologist here, but the dude's been trying to figure out how to deal with a virus that we barely know anything about. With the Facebook crowd, do your own research. I know everything because Facebook told me that it was true, versus public health, versus the provinces, versus everything in the world. I remember when it started, we were worried we wouldn't have enough N95s. And I remember when I saw like that Trump was going to stop imports of N95s in Canada, I just started bawling because I knew how important, as a nurse, I knew how important those N95s were. But we gotta give the guy a little bit of a break. He's been working nonstop for 2.5 years.
Well, I think there's a lot of people out there who might disagree with you on working 24/7 or for 2.5 for the majority of 2.5 years. Because let's be honest, every politician has taken breaks during this COVID. Some went to Hawaii, some went to Mexico, some went to their cottage.
Well, the cottage is federal jurisdiction.
I'm talking about Premier Doug Ford. Ford. Yeah, I'm just saying provincial leaders did leave as well. It's not like Justin Trudeau hasn't taken vacations. It's just
no, and he has taken, but the guy had literally the lives of everyone in this country on his shoulders. And if he would have, no matter what the call would have been, no matter what the call Trudeau would have done, 50% of the population would have been dissatisfied with him.
Oh, that's always the case, right? Yeah.
No matter what they do, no matter what they say, there's always the very fringe, the 5 to 10%. Then you have the anti-Trudeau crowd that is about 35 to 40%. And then you have the rest that we're like, well, we're just going to be, but everybody's tired.
Everyone's tired and everyone wants a scapegoat. They want to blame someone, right? And that's where I'm going to sound like the Trudeau apologist now is Trudeau did some things wrong. Jason Kenney did some things wrong. Doug Ford did some things wrong. Scott Moe did some things wrong. It's easy to gang up on
No one's perfect.
No, exactly.
We didn't know what we were dealing with. It's when you have a virus that you barely understand how it works, how it attacks, and constantly mutates. We went from a very deadly Alpha strain to a very deadly Delta to a still very deadly Omicron, but attacking we thought it was a respiratory disease, but then we realized that it was attacking the nervous system and the circulatory system as well. When you have a virus that is like the all-included of illnesses and attacks all of your systems, there's so much, and I really don't want to be apologetic for anyone, but at the end of the day, nothing could have prepared us for this.
No.
And can we blame everybody? I don't think pointing fingers, we need to heal. And I don't think that pointing fingers right now is going to do us any service.
No, and I agree with that. But thank you so much for going down that rabbit hole with me, Sarah. The last topic I want to talk about, because we always talk about three topics on the point of order, and that is caucus and, sorry, I shouldn't say caucus, but I should say party unity. Over the last 2 weeks, actually, I would say even a little bit before that, I would say since about March of this year, we have seen the Alberta NDP kind of going through a public divorce with each other, because it seems like some of the volunteers are not enjoying the way that the party is handling some of the nomination candidacies. Now, for those who are about to attack me or attack Sarah, we did say publicly that she's working on a campaign for the UCP leadership. Last week, if you remember, we had a former NDP candidate come on to talk about the Conservatives. So yes, from time to time, we have the other side talking about what the other party is doing. So Sarah,
everybody knows I'm being right down in the middle. So
exactly. I want to know your stance, because I've seen it from the Ontario Liberals side. You've probably seen it from more of a Conservative side. How hard is it to keep a party unified with nomination battles that go on across the province when you have so many contested nominations when their candidate doesn't win?
No, I can actually talk to you about the NDP side, because I'm very familiar with what's going on with the NDP right now. So, we got to put everything in situation. So right now, we got to go back to the basics. Right now, we are dealing with a two-party system in the province. Whether you like it or not, we're dealing with two-party systems. The Alberta Liberals had a leadership race announced this week. I saw the email. And the Alberta NDP, well, they're doing their thing, and they just keep trucking.
So just for clarification point, I just want to jump in here for 2 seconds on the Alberta Liberal Party. We just sat down with a potential candidate for the Alberta Liberals, who is I'm gonna let you talk. I'm gonna talk about 2 seconds. Who is not an official candidate yet, because she is having issues with the rules. She is an Edmontonian. She ran for the leadership of the Libertarian Party. She ran for the leadership of the Freedom Conservative Party, and now she's running for the leadership of the. But she is wanting to run for the leadership of the Alberta Liberal Party, because she's a card-carrying member of the Liberal Party. That episode will be airing next week, so please tune in for that. Sorry. So there's my little plug for next week's episode. Next Wednesday, that episode will be airing. Yep. So we'll talk about it off record here.
Okay. So let's go back to basics. It's pretty much a two-party system. So when you have ideological parties like the NDP, and there's very leftist, socialist, Labour Party, Workers' Party. It carries different values than the UCP, which is free enterprise, freedom, personal responsibilities, and all that. So very often, everybody hates on the centrists, but the centrists don't have a home. So in order to attract those voters, sometimes, and if the NDP is trying to go back in power, they need to go appeal to that very, like there, I would say there's about 35% of voters that you could get in that kind of middle clump, if you want. So for some, the party went too much to the center. For some, the party went too much on the right. To some, they feel like they stop being listened to because there's a lot of issues in every single organization. No one will be perfect. But what we have seen from both sides recently proves that more than ever, we need to implement proper policies and employee management systems, and to have a better oversight over the people who are dealing with those volunteers, or for chief of staff, or for anything, right? We're talking about those sensitivity training and all that. We really need to further the conversation on how we're treating everyone. Now, I've seen people treated badly everywhere. This is not new. This has happened since I've been involved in politics. I've been treated not in a great way a few times. It's unfortunate, but it does happen. Now, there's always two sides to a story, and I'm really not trying to side with anyone here. But, maybe sometimes the entitlement is a little high. I have not watched. I've been extremely busy. I've been, kind of in my bubble these days. But I think that we, just, it is important to move forward. It is important to speak up. But there's a way to do it.
No, and sorry, continue on if you need to.
And also I would have seen the NDP leader to come forward and release a statement or something, or have some media availability to be able to address those issues, right?
This goes back to the topic around Justin Trudeau about if he did something, 50% of the population would either hate him or love him. This is with any political party, and I say this with all respect because I was there when Dalton McGuinty was in power. I was there when Kathleen. I wasn't there when Kathleen won, but it's always hard to keep a coalition, especially when you're trying to win the center together, right? We saw that with Jason Kenney. To keep the coalition together, it's hard. We see that with the Rachel Notley. It's hard to keep the coalition together because you're always going to have people who feel burned at the last minute. So it seems like you're either damned if you do, damned if you don't. So I don't know the internal issues that are going on because I'm not privy to that information.
Well, maybe we do.
Well, we only get the one side, right? We're only getting the one side, and that's as a journalist, as someone who as a host of a show, I look at everything from both sides and the lens half full, half empty, right? Because I want to know both sides, and this goes back to the conservative leadership. I had a Twitter, an Instagram fight with a former member of parliament, the former Minister of Health, Tony Clement, when Pierre came out and said that they raised 318,000 memberships. And I said, well, where are they from? And he goes, they're from everywhere. Well, that doesn't help me because everywhere means you could have sold one membership in Durham and 317,000 in Calgary Center. Doesn't mean you're going to win. Well, do you not believe me? No, I do believe you. Just like I believe Patrick Brown sold 115,000 and John Charest believes he has a path to victory. So I don't know both sides until I know both sides. So I'm waiting for Rachel Notley to come out with a statement. I'm waiting for something to drop to say, okay, this is what we're going to do. But it seems like they're plugging their ears and going, la, 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 we're not listening.
Yeah, we'll see what's going to happen this week. It's going to be interesting to see. I would say stay tuned.
We might talk about it next Wednesday.
Maybe
not.
I'm going to be in town next Wednesday, so we can do a longer episode.
Exactly. Then we can do a longer episode, and we might bring someone onto the show to chat as well. Pardon me?
That would be fun.
It would be. I want to leave with this. Sarah, we are just about to wrap up here, we have talked about three major issues that have happened: Emergencies Act, with the vaccine mandate, with party discipline. I know we could probably go into longer, but you have to go. What are you looking forward to the next week? Is there anything on your radar that could be potentially coming up federally or municipally or even provincially?
I'm hoping for very, very boring. I could use a boring week. I'm begging for boring weeks. I'm going to be digging into the city of Calgary super expensive climate plan, $3 billion a year until I don't know. I feel like I haven't read enough about it. I need to dig into it. It's going to be interesting to see what's going to be happening next few weeks with that. Hopefully the city won't flood. I got a family lobster boil on Saturday, so I'd like to be able to go. But no, we'll see what's going to happen. We'll see how, and I think that it's going to be to see interest. We're in a very caretaker government state right now in the province. There's a lot of ministers wearing multiple hats.
Will there be a cabinet shuffle? There might be a cabinet shuffle between now and next Wednesday as well. Who knows?
I think he's just going to keep it plain and boring. Summer's coming.
Calgary Stampede. Who's looking forward to all those barbecues? I know.
I've only been one, so we'll see.
Well, let's do it. You
I
and
need
me.
to go buy
I'm gonna do a shameless plug here because it's my show and that's what I like to do. This Saturday in Calgary, the Calgary the Brain Tumor Foundation of Canada is holding their annual Brain Tumor Walk, where we are raising money. I was gonna wait till Friday, but I'm gonna announce during the month of May. I said to everyone who was listening to the show, any money that the show raised, we would be donating it to the Calgary, to the Brain Tumor Foundation Walk, to help families like mine who have suffered through brain tumors cope, but get the resources that they need. It's a great organization. So during the month of May, I said any money that we raise, whether it be through our Patreon, whether it be through monthly donations, we would collect all of it and make a donation in the show's name. So I'm pleased to say that we've raised over $575 during the month of May towards it. So that plus as of recording this Wednesday night, over $700 that the pledge fund that we've been putting out there on social media throughout the last few months has raised over $700. So we're aiming for $1,500 by the end of Saturday to have raised for the Canadian Brain Tumor Foundation. If you can, head over to our social media pages. The links are there to donate. $10, $20, it helps. There's a lot of families out there right now who are struggling with this, especially during COVID-19. It was not fun. The people, the foundation is a great organization. The people at the Tom Baker, have been fantastic. So if you can, even $20, it does go a long way, and it does hopefully get us to that $1,500 mark that we're trying to get to. So there's my shameless plug. The walk is this Saturday. I forget the name of the park, but it's over in the Northwest. We will be there. My husband and I, we're going to go for a quick... Pardon me?
I'll be there too. Sarah
and I will be meeting back up. It's from 10 to 1. We're going to show up just for about an hour, do a bit of a walk, meet the people who are volunteers there. So if you can, all the information will be in the social media feeds. So please check it out. Highly recommend it. Again, I'm shamelessly plugging this because I think it's a great organization and it's helped me.
If you show up, if I show up and people show up, maybe they'll find out who I'm working for.
There you go. Might show up on a Saturday and you might see who Sarah's working for, or just randomly check Sarah's Twitter feed. So I want to thank Sarah so much for doing this because I told her 40 minutes. We're at the 41-minute mark, so that way she can get on the road and get back out on the campaign trail.
I can go pack.
There you go.
Sarah,
Sarah, thank you so much for doing this. It's an honor and a pleasure as always.
Thank you. We'll see you next week.
We'll see you Saturday in person, but we'll see you back here live on Point of Order on Wednesday at 7:45. Talk to you later, everyone.
Bye.